We're back. Sorry, cut out, guys. Lines discussion. So, if you're picking a 23-man squad, who is it? Anyone you want? I
I
know it's a
mean,
tough one. I'm putting you on the spot.
yeah, I mean, if he's fed tag furlong, you'd have to look at kind of
Yeah,
um props. Oh, don't know. Who else is there? Locks. Itoje. You'd always say he should probably be there.
yeah.
Um, Depends on what other type of lock you want to put in there with him.
Tyke
Um,
Burn, Tyke Burn. Sure.
Tyburn, I mean,
Yeah.
there's obviously some people were talking about potentially him captaining. I don't think he'll captain. There's a
Ah,
few others probably. Back rows, I mean, Tom Curry's been playing unbelievably well.
yeah,
Jack
he has.
Morgan. Um, I mean, it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. You know, again, 9-10. I mean, who you go? Finn Russell, Thomas
Yeah,
Williams,
people
or
have
do
been
you
saying
go
it. I don't
White and
know. I
Finn
don't know.
Russell?
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Finn Smith. I thought that he really stepped up. I was thinking to
He
myself,
had a good Six Nations. He had a really good Six
yeah,
Nations.
yeah. We get to see him again against Leinster. So that's going to be an interesting battle because there's a lot of lads in that Northampton team that I'm kind of thinking if they can step up. I mean, I don't think they'll beat Leinster, given that Leinster are at home, but they can certainly give them a game. And Henry
Yeah.
Pollock has been playing superb. Really good
He's
young
been a bit
fella.
of a rock star. Out
Yeah.
of nowhere, just unbelievable. Would be interesting to see because normally it's always funny. You have the coaches and there's always do they go safe? Pick the old stalwarts they always rely
Yeah, of
on.
course.
Tried and tested, or do they try something new, like a Pollock, a Finn Smith? Um,
Yeah. It's annoying because I'm kind of thinking, where did all this talk of bringing Owen Farrell back in? I'm not a big fan of that, I have to say. It's kind of like, let's get the young bloods out and give them a shot. It's kind of, even
who's
if
your
they don't
centre
turn up.
pair?
Yeah,
Oh, who's your centre pairing? I mean, because
centre
obviously
pair.
you've got Aki, Ringrose,
I
but then
actually
you've got
don't.
Tui
And a lot of
Peloto. I
people
mean,
a lot of people are arguing with me on that one, and I'm kind of going. I've been very impressed with the Scottish centre pairing, and even with now Tui Piloto, I've kind of been thinking Tom Jordan has been so good, and Hugh Jones on his day. I've actually been thinking like Hugh Jones wasn't as good as he normally is, and that's saying something. Getting 4 tries, it's kind of like he's such a good player. And I'm a big fan of Ringrose, but I think he needs to do a bit more if he wants to get in. And also yeah, I just feel like the Scottish centre partnership are the ones that are going to go. Ollie Lawrence would have been a shoe in for me, but he's going to be injured now and he's going to miss it. So it's a tough one for him. I don't know if Tui Pilotu can do enough, to come back in. It's like
yeah, he, 'cause he,
he
he was
was in great
obviously he's been
form,
out
but
for a while now.
yeah, and it's just will he be rusty? It's kind of
Yeah,
like Ollie Lawrence would have been 13 for me, and then I would have picked someone like Tom Jordan, and then maybe Hugh Jones could have gotten in. But for me now, I think Hugh Jones is that good. He has to play. He's been so good for so long. And
yeah.
also Tom Jordan, if he keeps the form he's in at the moment, I think he can go because he can play 10, 12, and fullback, I think. So he's kind of like your utility back. So maybe he'll be
Well,
a 23.
you got Blair King on in
Yeah,
there as well,
exactly.
who could play a fair few positions. I mean, it's there's quite a few matches coming up. I mean, I'm just literally pulling it up now, having a quick look,
Yeah.
and there's quite a packed itinerary. I mean, in total, what's that? Two, four, six, over 10 games, 11 games. It's going to be great. I,
I
I,
think
I
so.
am, I am really looking forward to it.
Same here. Like, it's definitely going to be one to watch. Like this weekend, I think it's going to be great between Leinster and Northampton. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I also think if Leinster don't win at least the URC or the Champions Cup, serious questions are going to be asked because they are such a great team. We know it. Like they scored 114 unanswered points in 2 games against
Yeah.
Glasgow, and then also like you think to yourself, that's so impressive. Harlequins a week previous 62-0. So it's kind of like you've set the bar so high now, you've got to keep it up. I don't think anybody's questioning how good they are. Everybody knows they're a great team. But like, and I hate to bring the example up, and as a South African, you'll probably love it, but the World Cup, the pain, the pain. But that's the thing, like beating the eventual world champions, you know you're good enough, but there's just something missing. Because South Africa pulled it all together in the end, and it wasn't easy for them. They lost Malcolm Marx, then brought in Andre Pollard, Bongi and Banambi went off as well in the final. Dion Faree, what a machine to do what
It's
he
just
did.
relentless. I think that's the thing that no matter what, they just keep coming at you, coming at
Yeah,
you.
yeah. They find
Uh,
solutions, not problems, I think, don't they? Like it's just a
and it,
case of things don't go your way, but Rossi was planning. Like he had Marco van Staden thrown in, he had Dion Faree in case a hooker got injured. That's planning ahead.
I always used to joke with him, also saying that if Plan A fails, we do Plan A better, right?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Just keep going, just
Yeah,
just keep breaking it down, just keep going at it.
yeah, and the versatility is something that's really impressed me. So you got Thomas Detoy, Trevor Niakane, obviously you can play both sides. So it's kind of like that's what you need, especially if you want to do the likes of a 7-1 split. You have to have players who can play in multiple positions. Crocker Smith could also play in the backs if needed when they did that 7-1 split. So it's like you can complain about it, but it's legal. And I don't see a problem with it. It's within the laws. You can put whoever you want on your bench. So I really think teams, rather than
Yeah,
complaining, just need to adapt, get with the times.
definitely, definitely.
It's just like you're not going to change it. So just learn to live with it. And I think
Just
Ireland, if they wanted to, we've got a lot of good back rowers. We could do that type of bench. We're just not doing it. You know, I'd like to
yeah,
see it. I'd like to see more forwards on our bench.
just try something different, right?
Yeah,
And just, I mean, it is quite funny because Rassi Rasmus has said a few times like a lot of tours matches between World Cups, he uses it to try different things. I think between the two World Cups or something last year, there was this ridiculous stat of him using over 50 different players.
yeah,
So just try things where you look at a lot of other international teams, they'll just play the same team in and out, and then one day they wake up and they go, no young blood. It's very inexperienced team. Where's
it's
the
happening
experience?
here. That's
Yeah,
our problem. That like I don't buy the whole thing that we don't have enough talent because in Ireland, like there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talented rugby players, and when people say we don't have the depth, I just think it's another excuse. Like you think of the likes of Andrew Porter, who is world class. He's a brilliant loose head prop, but he's asked to play 70 minutes week in, week out. And you said like you played loose head, so you understand like that's a hard position to play for that length of time consistently. It's a lot to ask of someone, especially being
yeah.
so physical. It's gonna wear down on you.
It's incredible. And like I said, players get bigger, stronger, fitter,
Yeah,
faster. I mean, and your body just has to keep up with it.
yeah. That's the thing. Like, and I remember before watching an older game where Tyke Furlong was playing 69 minutes, 70, and now he keeps coming back getting injured and then having to go back. And I'm afraid that's going to happen with Andrew Porter because I just think he's asked to play so many minutes. Like, and then Dan Shane and Ronan Kelleher, it seems like one gets injured, then the other gets injured, and one comes back. Both world class hookers, but they keep getting injured. We need to start bringing through young bloods, getting them game time like what Rossi does with South Africa. Because I just
Yeah,
don't buy the whole thing that we don't have the depth. You might not have, say, a world class player in every position, but do you remember the New Zealand team before where they literally had 60 players, 4 players for each position, and each was as good as the next? But they knew what they were doing. They had a job to do. Like you take them out of the All Blacks, maybe not world class, but for their role, they play such an important role in the team.
that's what Rossi, he said he wants two teams, right? He
Yeah,
wants two
yeah,
squads. So people just go in and out, seamless, no issues.
exactly.
That's the goal. And if you could get two full international squads as a country, you've made it, right? That's the ultimate.
Yeah, yeah. And that was the thing. Did you ever see Dan Human? He's the forwards coach, and he was
Yeah.
just saying, and I really like this because I hate using tackle bags. I don't like using them in training at all. It's like grab a bit of meat. It's there like I want live scrummaging. It's like yes, exactly, because it's like
Yeah.
a machine doesn't give you anything. A machine doesn't twist and turn you in a scrum. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like what are you gaining from that? Somebody might not be
Yeah.
as strong as you, but they've got smarts. Like they know when to pull you down. Like if it's a loose head, they can pull on the tight head's jersey. The tight head might even ever see it where sometimes because the loose head's arm, if that hits the ground, that's a penalty. So the tight head will
Yeah.
sometimes push on the arm, then take their arm back up. And it's like it's clever. And if you can get away with it and be subtle about it, then you can
I
get
mean, I saw
the
I saw a piece of kit the other day, sorry, a
yeah,
scrum machine
yeah,
that actually has hydraulic pistons in it that pushes and moves essentially simulating, like
Yeah,
you said, you're pushing a normal scrum machine. It's rigid, it's solid. It just
yeah.
goes forward and backward. That's it. Where they've got ones now with like hydraulic arms that can simulate, the scrum twisting and churning. It's amazing what they do.
Soon the robots will be playing rugby as well. They'll take
I
over.
don't, yeah, but might be at some point we'll end up having to watch a game of robots running around on the pitch.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. They'll be too perfect. Everybody will be exactly the same. That's it though. Like I remember before seeing Ollie Jaeger, who can't seem to stop getting injured, but he's a quality scrummager, and he came up against Andrew Porter, who'd be quite an aggressive scrummager. But rather than trying to match him for strength, he let Andrew Porter over engage and overextend. You know what I mean? So then he was going to his knees, and the ref would give a penalty. I thought that's a brain that you can use. It's like you don't have to be naturally gifted, but you just need to do a job. You need to know what your role is in the team. And I think in Ireland, we kind of go, unless this fella is world class, he's not getting in ahead of our star man. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100. I mean, if you go back to when Jake White was the coach of Springboks, there was a lot. I mean, our team I support back in South Africa Sharks. I mean, John Smith and Bismarck du Plessis.
Yeah,
And there was always people like moaning about, no, why is John Smith playing? Why is John Smith playing? Bismarck du Plessis is a better hooker. But
yeah,
he played him because he was a captain. That was his job. And he was open at times. He said that he might not pick the best player in his position, but he's the best player for the plan and the format that he wants to play and with those around him. So, he picks them for a job. Exactly what you were saying there.
yeah.
It's not necessarily the best player in his position, but he's the best for the team at doing that job.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because people would say that about the likes of Paul O'Connell, who obviously was great when he was in his prime, but then as he started getting older and didn't have the legs anymore, his ball carrying wouldn't have been as good. But you could see how their team would just rise as soon as Paul O'Connell comes onto the pitch. Something changes, a switch just goes in the team. Even with the Lions, where they know he has your back, he's a good leader, and he'll sort you out. He'll tell you where to be on the pitch. He just has a rugby brain, and you can't teach stuff like that. That's just there. Leadership is so important. Like natural talent, yeah, brilliant. But if you can get a guy who leads other lads as well, like John Smith did, it's kind of like that's invaluable. Bismarck was like a quality hooker, really good player. And I know like they accommodated him by putting John Smith at tight head, didn't they, at times?
He used to move him because he started off
Yeah,
of, as a prop. He used to play a fair bit of prop,
yeah,
John Smith.
yeah, yeah.
But
I think
especially
it
if
was a
you've
good
got
idea.
younger players coming into the environment, right? You want these older players, the more experienced. I mean, it rubs off, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not as daunting as well if you come in and there's a lad who's only a few years older than you. You know what I mean? One thing I'm not a big fan of with the Irish team is that Kane Healy, who has been a great player, but he's been there for a while, and they found a way to put him on, even though he can only play like 5 minutes sometimes. They can play a bit longer than that, but you're kind of going. Andrew Porter's playing 72 minutes. Kane Healy comes on for 8 minutes. It's kind of like get another lad in who can give Andrew Porter a break, but do a good job. Like the likes of Jack Boyle, who's coming in now. But if you look at him and Kane Healy, he was 22 coming in, and Kane Healy was 37. That age divide. And I looked at that
Yeah,
and I thought to myself, that's exactly what went wrong with Welsh rugby. You've a 38-year-old being replaced by a 20-year-old, and the gap is just so big. Now, if you can see my other hand, bring that up there. So
but,
I'm trying to use my hands, but I know they're not coming up to
but
the screen.
you're exactly right. You're. I
Yeah,
mean, this is the problem. You got players who are literally they are at retirement age, right? They're ready to stop, and then suddenly
yeah,
there's six or seven of them that are all ready to stop at the same time.
yeah.
It's like who's replacing them?
And that's exactly it, because it's just kind of like if I'm a young lad and I'm coming into a team, and like I haven't played at that level, obviously, but you know yourself when you come into a side and it's like we need you to do a job, but the lad who's leaving is a legend, so you're expected to keep those standards up. It's like this fella's really good, and you have to be just as good as him. No pressure, off you go. It's like
Yeah,
Alan Wynne Jones is a once in a lifetime second row, and then the next guy coming in, he's shitting himself thinking I'm only 19 here, and I'm expected to carry on the same level as a Welsh legend. It's not great, and I think in Ireland, if we don't do something fast, that might happen with us.
yeah. I mean, you've got. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it evolves over the next year or two. At 10 for Ireland,
Yeah,
with Prendergast and Cowley, and what they do, who they're going to stick with, because that's a similar situation. I mean, you had, again, Johnny Sexton is a once in a lifetime player who comes around who's just held that position for a while. I mean, O'Gara before him was a great flyer as well, and it's like, okay, who's coming in next? And you've got these two young lads trying to fight for position.
yeah, and competition makes players better. I really just felt like Jack Crowley should have started, bring Prendergast off the bench. I think as well, let him have time to develop at Leinster. You've got Kieran Frawley coming in too. So it's kind of like he was doing quite well. He was in his prime, ready to go. And then you can see his confidence kind of drop a little bit. And you think to yourself, is that him done now? Are they going to drop him and not bring him back in again? They've played him every position except for fly half. They put him in at 12, they put him in at wing, and then fullback, obviously, and he can play there pretty well. But you're kind of thinking, let him try fly half and see how he goes. It's always like, I feel like it's not fair on either Crowley or Prendergast to throw Prendergast in the deep end and expect him to swim. And then if he messes up, it's like, oh, he's shit, he should be dropped, which isn't fair on
Yeah.
a young lad either. And then obviously Crowley be pissed off thinking that jersey was mine. I was just about to come into it. Because it was like who'd take over from Sexton, and we thought Crowley, but then it's not so clear cut. Then we thought Frawley, and now it's Prendergast. It looks,
Some of
and
that,
now we're
yeah.
not sure.
Yeah, and Leicester's obviously they tried their heart to get Crowley go over there because obviously Pollard's leaving there, so they're trying their best to lure him away.
Yeah, yeah.
So will be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah, Crowley said apparently he's going to stay at Munster, which is good for Munster fans. That they wouldn't like to see him leave, but I kind of thought I could understand why he would. I kind of feel like he wasn't treated very fairly. And one thing I didn't really like was I felt like if Prendergast got a few minutes under his belt, even if you want to start him and then finish strong with Crowley, take him off and bring Crowley on. They seemed hell bent on getting them both on the pitch at the same time, which I don't think is a good idea. I feel like Crowley's a good defender for a fly half, but you're kind of losing a bit of physicality if you take say Bundy Aki off and put Crowley in at 12. You're losing a lot of physicality there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It just kind of feels like a
he's an
waste.
unbelievable. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's just a case of what we're going to do now. So I feel like people are saying we were saying Ireland were great 1 minute, and then as soon as we lose to France, oh, now we're shit. It's kind of like, no, what changes need to be made? There are players that are good enough to come in. And I think
yeah.
watching the
I mean,
URC,
and it's difficult. It's difficult when you lose against France or South Africa. I mean, you're
yeah,
losing against some of the best teams in the world, right? So
yeah,
it's. I mean, people need to be realistic as well. I think probably the way Ireland lost against France was probably half the problem. But
yeah,
players need time. They need to be embedded, and they need support around them.
yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like it was inevitable. I think we all felt like it's bound to happen, and we hope it happens sooner rather than later because we want the team to evolve. Like when I went to see Ireland against Australia in the last autumn series, and the place was packed. You couldn't get into the stadium. It was great. Like the atmosphere was spectacular, but then it went really dull because the attack was so flat. Australia actually had a few line breaks. I think they had like six in the game. Ireland, I don't even think got one. And then all our tries were way forwards. And this is something I've been making this point and trying to hammer at home. In the autumn series, we got 15 tries, but 9 of them were by forwards. And then I looked at the Six Nations, and we'd 17 tries, but 11 of them were by forwards. Where's the old saying, the forwards aside, who wins the game, the backs by how much? And it feels like the forwards are kind of doing both. Like both
And if
our
you look
top
at the
try
back three of
scorers.
Ireland, you
Yeah,
would have thought. I mean, given the back three, they are world class players.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, like, when you looked at everybody else's top try scorers, and I did a deep dive into the stats, the Guinness Six Nations, everyone else's were backs. With obviously Louis Bale was incredible. But our top try scorers were Dan Shane, who was obviously a brilliant player, but then Jack Conan, and Jack Conan is a replacement number 8. You think to yourself, is that the best we can do? Everybody's been praising our attack, and to be fair to England, they were saying England were shit in attack. They kicked too much. They got 25 tries. Ireland only got 17.
Yeah.
And Tommy Freeman was banging for. He played really
He
well.
he was good. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how many English players in the backs get in there because there's in the Lions team because there's like I said earlier, there's temptation of going 10, 12, 13, just Scotland, right? Who else are fighting for the positions of wing, fullback?
Yeah.
It's great. It is great. It just makes it interesting because it means that, there are young players coming through that will be able to push for positions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely an argument to be made in the back line anyway for Scottish players. I'd say in the pack, Ireland, if they want players in, it'd probably be the type five. I think back row, England really stepped up, to be fair. I thought they were very good. Ben Earl in attack, like he's a machine, but I think he misses too many tackles in the back row. But as a replacement, so as a sub off the bench, he's explosive. Like he'll just carry all day. He'll get turnovers.
Caelan
Tom,
Doris needs to be there
no,
for
yeah,
me.
and he will be like a team with Andy Farrell. You imagine he'll have to be there, you know. He is such a good player, and I've been very impressed with Jack Conan. So I think he's still got a lot to offer. And Jack Morgan, like yeah, Jack Morgan got 88 tackles in the competition. That's incredible. That's
He's been the
brilliant.
stand-up for Wales.
Yeah, yeah,
For a while
for
now.
sure.
He's been great.
Yeah, he's a machine. And like I think and you have to also think of the opposition you're going to play. So Australia, great back line. A lot of really quick backs that are going to carry very well. So you want someone like Jack Morgan who can tackle them. And then if you've got someone like Tom Curry and Caelan Doris and Ty Byrne, maybe to jackal, get over the ball, get some turnovers, win some penalties. Because I feel like in the pack, the Lions will probably have the edge. Back line,
Yeah.
maybe Australia.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
It's I'm looking forward to it. I'm really really looking forward to it. I mean, it can only be better than the previous Lions tour that was played in empty stadiums, right?
absolutely.
So the fact that there'll be people cheering on is already a good start.
Yeah, I remember for that one, and I was working in a hotel at the time, and I was knackered after my shift, and I was like, "Oh, the TV's on. I'm gonna watch the game." And I'm like, "Don't fucking bother. You're wasting
It
your
was
time."
awful. But
Yeah.
yeah, just the silence. I remember some of the TV channels that were broadcasting had crowd noises that they played.
Oh
That
yeah.
just so there was something. Otherwise, it was just empty. You can hear players swearing, and the referee whistle going,
Yeah. You'd have to apologize
it
every
was
2 seconds
bizarre.
for the swearing.
Yeah, it was truly bizarre. So just on that front, already looking forward to this tour.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good, and I think also the fact that, like you were saying, Australia are coming good. Like, there's a lot to be excited about. I think their back row is looking good. Apparently, their scrum's getting better. Angus Bell is one hell of a player. Like, he's a really good talent to
Like a
watch.
mobile prop.
Yeah, yeah. Like, got the really long legs and the big belly and all, but he can move. He's exciting to watch. If Taniela Tupou could stay fit, because he's an exciting player, but he's been riddled with injuries. So if he's fit, maybe Will Skelton as well, then I'll be very happy because big boys, we want to see them. You
Because there's a
know,
few of them coming back just to try and see if they can get into the squad with the
yeah,
Lions too.
yeah, yeah. Well, watching them, I was very impressed. Like they beat England, and then obviously they got pretty well beaten by Scotland, but against Ireland, they certainly showed up. They hammered Wales. So I'm thinking to myself, this could be a good side. Tom Wright at fullback is very impressive. Then Suaalii, if he can get going, Len Ikitau, like that's a very good backline. And Noah Lolosio, I don't know if he's injured now. I hope not because he's a very good player. But
Yeah.
Ben Donaldson's another player who's very good in attack. I just feel like they're coming good at the right time. So I hope the Lions can just pull it all together because you don't want Australia peaking and the Lions just swanning up thinking they're going to win easily because it's going to be a challenge.
No, and Schmidt is a great coach, right?
Yeah, he is.
He's there for another year or so, and then he's handing over before the World Cup.
Yeah,
And but if there's anyone who's got the ability to right the ship, it's him.
yeah. And as well as that, he knows the Irish players. So if Farrell does go with a lot of Irish players, who better than Joe Schmidt to figure them out?
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be fascinating now. I think it's an exciting one, and I am really looking forward to that combined Australia New Zealand team. That is going to be one hell of a game, for sure. Who are you backing
Uh,
for the Champions Cup?
oh, good shout. Um, it's a toss up. I not sure. Not sure.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
very undecided at the moment.
yeah. I'd like to say Leinster, but it's just like I was saying earlier. There's something in the psyche that I don't know what it is. It's not a lack of talent, but when they get to the finals, they just don't seem to do well. I don't know. And then the URC, one thing that really annoyed me looking at the URC is that yeah, Leinster are top of the table comfortably enough, but there's not another Irish province in the top eight. You know, so
No,
that's
I
worrying.
mean you've got obviously with the URC, it's Leinster and Glasgow's got the home semi-finals most likely.
Yeah,
You'll have probably the Bulls and the Sharks traveling. Cardiff still got a say in there. But you'd like to think Leinster should win it. It's been a while. It's
yeah.
been a while.
Last one they won was a COVID one. Back in
Yeah.
COVID times. So like I think the South African teams have really shown that they deserve to be in the competition. Like they've made two finals and then they've won it. The Stormers winning it and then making a final. The Bulls making the final the other year, and obviously the Bulls beating Leinster in Leinster is like a really big statement win. Leinster can't seem to get over the Bulls. It's a big hurdle for them. They're a bogey
They've
team.
been struggling. I mean, they've been struggling. I mean, if you look at how many times they've won it, and then the last few years, there's been a bit of a drought.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like I don't know, maybe it's a bit harsh to say, but I feel like as fans, we should expect Leinster to be at least making the final every year, if not winning it, because they are that good. Everybody knows how good they are, but and also the crowds that actually work for Leinster, they have this air of entitlement, which means that the other provinces fucking hate them. But like I feel like we should hold them accountable, Like it's something that
Yeah.
has to be given. If you're a top team, you need to be held accountable.
You, on the Champions Cup, I mean, you got obviously you'd have to say Toulouse, Leinster, but
Yeah,
Northampton's had a torrid season in the Gallagher Premiership, but they seem
yeah,
to be firing right at the right time at the moment. So that's going to be a tough all game for Leinster. But you look at the Toulouse team, and you just go.
I know. Yeah, they're
Hey,
such a good team, to be
hence,
fair.
I'm just because on paper, both teams, I mean, are unbelievable. Leinster to lose. I mean, that for me would be the final, right? That would be a great final.
Yeah, but I know we're so good in attack, but in defence, they let in a lot of tries against Munster and Ulster, So I think you've got Damien Penaud, who is quality, BL Barry. So attack wise, they're stacked, but in defence, I think the likes of Leinster or Toulouse will figure them out. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting. I feel like if Leinster make a final and they don't win it, it's kind of going to be a lot of questions asked. I think a bit of slack will be given if they can go and do something in the URC, but fans are kind of getting pissed off, because I know for a lot of us we were thinking, okay, we lost at another quarter final in the World Cup, we got to accept the Joker's tag, but we had a chance to go back to back Grand Slams, and I expected France to beat us a year ago. I thought we're in Marseille, we're going to lose, because the French are going to be angry after being knocked out in the quarter final by 1 point, by the Springboks, of course. That was a great game. One of the best I've ever seen, by the way. And Cheslin Colby with that charge down. If he hadn't blocked that kick down, they don't win. So
Yeah.
that shows you the importance. But we expected to go to France and lose. Next thing we win, and we're thinking, oh, great. England weren't playing very well. So we were thinking to ourselves, we go up to Twickenham, get a win, and we've won back-to-back Grand Slams and been the first team to do it. I know it's not easy. It is difficult. But the hard part was beating France, and then against England, we threw it away, And I kind of think there's just something not working up here because talent-wise, I think everybody would agree it's there. And then after that disappointment, we had a chance to win three Six Nations in a row, and we all know the French game and how that went. We just did not show up. I was kind of like, fucking,
Yeah.
it's
I
it's
mean,
not
it's
easy
it's
being an Ireland fan.
winning is a habit. You can.
Yeah,
I mean, there's always the jokes South Africans like to joke about it with Ireland, saying that
yeah,
you can win as many games between World Cups. You need to win the World Cup. That's the one.
yeah,
Um, and it becomes it's a habit. I think once you break the monkey's back, you're fine, right?
yeah.
But until that time comes, there's a lot of pressure and expectations on players.
Yeah, one joke that I heard from South African fans because yeah, it was getting a bit heated at one stage, and then I thought, no, I'll give them credit for this one. When I think of Ireland, they almost get a semi. I was like, all right, you can have that. That was a good one. That was really funny. I was there on fuck's sake. I have to laugh. I couldn't even be mad. I was just laughing at it. And it's true. It's true.
Yeah,
Oh,
but there's a lot to play for still. I mean, we'll see what happens in the URC final and the Champions Cup.
yeah,
And then
absolutely.
so locally, hopefully my local cherry and white team and Gloucester make it into the top four in the champion and Gallagher Premiership.
Yeah, and you told me I was going to ask you. I meant to get this, but you said you're a Sharks fan. I've got cousins actually from KwaZulu Natal, Durban, and they would have played rugby. One of my cousins went to Michael House, so big rugby school, and
Very good
he
rugby
would have
school.
been more into business and got his degree. And then, like you said, once you stop in school, you stop playing. So then he kind of lost interest and didn't follow it. But I know when I was talking to him before, he was wearing a Sharks jersey, and um, it's kind of good to talk to yourself because there's a lot of South Africans that are really into rugby. What do you think the Sharks' chances are? Because they're stacked with talent. Like they've a lot of Springboks.
On paper, I
Yeah,
mean,
best
look at
team.
that team and you go,
Yeah,
bloody hell, that is, two-thirds of a Springboks team running around there. But they've been very hit and miss. They've been very
yeah,
hit and miss. You'd like to think they've got the chance because the players, look at the names on the spreadsheet
mm,
on the team sheet. It's unbelievable. They've got big leaders here, Khaleesi, Benesabeth, you got the front, you got Oxen Chair, you got Bongi Numbi. I mean, the players it just keeps going.
Vincent Cook.
Henry brothers, Mapimpi, it unbelievable team. Um, it's just whether they're on fire or not on the day. They proved last year winning the
Challenge Cup.
Challenge Cup,
Yeah,
at Tottenham Stadium away, that they can win here. They can win
absolutely.
on the
Yeah,
atmosphere. So there's nothing stopping them. So I think for them probably, who'd they rather play away, Glasgow or Leinster? So that third place is important. Team them and the Bulls will be scrapping for it.
yeah,
Because you'd say rather play Glasgow away than Leinster, to be brutally honest. No disrespect to Glasgow, that will be a hell of a tough game as well.
yeah.
Glasgow shown beating the Bulls in Loftus and
That
Pretoria.
was
That
impressive. Yeah,
they're not a team to be messed about. So, going to be interesting.
yeah, definitely. Like, and when Leinster played Glasgow in the Champions Cup, I've got to admit I was expecting a much tougher challenge. And that for me shows how good Leinster are. Like I know Glasgow are missing a few players, but to beat a Glasgow team by that many points and not concede any, because Glasgow's attack is incredible. I think that set the tone that Leinster have to play like that and keep that form going. Like you were saying there, you can win as many games as you like between World Cups, but when the big game comes, you got to deliver, and that's kind of it where the focus hasn't been. I think the Sharks they can do it, and as we were talking about there, like they're absolutely stacked. But I remember when Leinster beat the Sharks out in Durban, I was kind of thinking, great win for Leinster on paper like that, but at the same time, it's
Young
like the
Leinster
Sharks
team
didn't
as
show up.
well.
Hmm?
It was a
Sorry.
young Leinster team. It was not like their
Yeah,
first
as they're
their
saying,
best
the B
best
team.
15. It was a second string team, and,
Yeah,
and the Sharks had all their big names, most of the big names playing, and they got
yeah,
beaten.
yeah. That's the thing. Like they didn't get any attacks going. The one time they did, and they got a try off them all. It was like they just never got going at all. Um, so I was kind of thinking, looking at that team, it's exciting to see all the big names, but they just haven't been performing. But still, they're in a good position. So I think, like, if they can click now, they can challenge for a top spot. And then, obviously, you say like they'll have to play Glasgow away, but perhaps they can click at the right time. I know the Bulls have been really impressive this year, and they're certainly clicking at the right time.
If you're in the final or in the semi-final, you got a chance, right? Anything
Yeah,
can
for
happen.
sure.
You could be right up against it. Opposition make a mistake, red card come in. The game, the landscape can change so quickly. So as long as you're there, you've got a chance. So I'd like to think the South African team's got a chance because when you look at the Champions Cup, you go, I think second from bottom is the best we got in any of the pools. So that was horrendous. So the URC, they have to go for it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I think, as you said there, seeing as they don't really value the Champions Cup, it's like URC. Then we've got to go and be competing, at least make the final every year, make a case for themselves, and then look if they can do that, then maybe they can put more effort into the Champions Cup because it is tough. All the travel for them, it's definitely tough. And they're still getting used to some elements of the European competition, so that's fair enough. I get that. Um, I guess people thought it was a bit disrespectful, in particular with the Bulls. Remember when the Bulls played a second strength team in the Champions Cup, but then got beaten at home, and everybody was like, "That's what you get." um,
Yep.
but yeah, no, they've definitely the Bulls have been a good side to watch for me, like physical as you'd expect from the Bulls teams of old. And Marcel Coetzee, he had an incredible game against Munster. I think it was like 30 tackles and then a try. So he's a
Yeah,
fellow we know in
he's knocking
Ireland.
on the door at the moment for the
Yeah,
Springboks,
for
is
sure.
putting his hand up for a spot on the team. Um, it's going to be interesting on the Springboks side to see what they do in the autumn internationals, because obviously with the Lions touring, they're playing some games against some of the smaller nations. So, there'll be some experimenting and seeing. But Bulls have done well. They've got a young squad. They're really on the push to try and challenge for it.
Yeah, you got the likes of Cameron Hanekom and then Elric Lowe. And then obviously over in Cape Town, you've got Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu, who's lighting
I
things
don't
up.
know if you saw the play on the weekend, where he got tackled in the air, got the quick tap on the line on the penalty, ran, and had this cheeky sort of backhanded pass. I mean, he's just an electrifying player, unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. You get the showboat as long as it comes off.
No one worries or will complain as long as you pull it off. The moment it
Exactly.
doesn't work, horrendous. You're an absolute idiot for trying something like that.
100%. Because like I remember he was doing all his tricks and people thought, oh, he's great. Then he caught the ball, went to throw it, and then dummy, then it fell out of his hands without anyone touching him. And he's like, he's got his mind on the fancy stuff. He's not even thinking of the simple stuff. No, it's gonna be really exciting. It's crunch time, you know. I was watching Champions League as well, so the football has been on as well. Some good games there too. And listen, mate, it's been class talk to you as well. Cheers for coming on. Just want to say a massive thanks.
More than
You've got a
welcome,
good
Dan.
rugby
Appreciate
brain.
it, mate.
You've got a great
It's
rugby
always nice.
brain.
I mean, just being meeting people, having a chat with others that are passionate about rugby, right? It's just great.
100%. Yeah, and you've got a great rugby brain, which is great to see. I hope you were impressed by my knowledge a little bit. I do my best.
Definitely, definitely, mate.
It's refreshing because I get to actually talk to someone. Like when I'm drinking and watching a game, people aren't paying attention to the rugby, and I'm like, "Oh, look at that move off! Look at that scrum! Oh, their maul's not functioning well." Everybody's like, "Hey, shut the fuck up! We're just here for the beers." It's like, what? I want to have a few beers, but I want to watch the game as well, you know. So it is refreshing, like to hear someone who just loves it, you know. And like you said, it was really good to start in the first video that it's about having a bit of fun because like it's all about that, about a bit of crack and having a few beers, having a barbecue. It's the stuff we love. A braai, a lekker braai,
A lack of bri, yeah, we do love a bri, mate.
for sure. Well, listen, it's been great having you on, Chris. Thanks very much. Or do you call it Stoffel or Chris?
Well, this is the funny. I'm Christoffel, so the Afrikaans people call me Stoffel. The English call me Chris.
Ah, gotcha. What do you prefer?
Stoffel. That's my Afrikaans name. That's what most of
Oh,
my friends and family call me.
thank you very much, Stoffel. Appreciate it, mate.
Cheers,
Hope it makes
Dan.
for an
Speak to you,
interesting
mate.
watch. Cheers, man. See you.
Cheers.
Good luck.